Hello there and welcome back to Internet Flight Rules. Today we're flying the Flight Factor 767-300. This is the latest version in xPlane 12 and let's take a little look at the airport here. We are at the infamous St. John's, the airport almost every pilot knows of but hopefully never has to visit. We are of course talking on the very eastern coast of Canada. It's the first airport that the aircraft come to after crossing the Atlantic, you know, over from basically where I live, Ovett Pond. So yeah, we're going to be doing a short flight, but again, it's part of my series on failures. And rather than predicting or rather setting up engine failures, today we're going to do random. And so if you want to have a little look, I'll show you this and then we'll get underway. So coming into the electronic flight bag that belongs to the Flight Factor 767, if we come over to the failures page, we've got scenarios here. I've just created these ahead of time, but I'm just going to show you briefly what they do. So the first one here, we're going to activate these two. Initially just this one. After 6,500 feet, we're talking height here, start 5 randos, which is 5 random failures. And I'm just going to show you this. After 6,500 feet, start 5 randos. That's the name. So Arabus 6.5, initiate random failure, random failure. Just so you know, it's completely random. So if we get an engine fire, or if we get some backup reserve fuel pump indicator warning light failure, you know, it's like from one extreme to the other, could be anything. 2 minutes later, we get another, then 2 minutes on average, right? So it's not necessarily bang on 2 minutes, but generally speaking, 2 minutes later, and we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, at that point, either we've got our hands full and that's enough, or we've been lucky or unlucky, depending which way you view it, and we've all got like backup booster pumps that have gone and just stuff that don't really matter. If that's the case, we activate this program here, which is in 60 seconds, give me 4 randoms, and that's exactly what it does. It doesn't then wait any further. It's just going to count down 60 seconds and then boom, it's going to hit us up with 4 random failures all at the same time. And then hopefully we'll have our hands full. If not, we'll run it again. And so there is that. All right, and so with that said and done, let's start. So I do have a little flight plan on the cards for today. Here it is. It is St. John's International to St. Pierre, I think that is. And taking a look at the codes, Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango, that of course Canada, to Lima Fox Victor Papa. Now Lima Fox is generally France, right? And I believe Saint Pierre does actually technically legally belong to France, even though it's right slap bang in the middle of the Canada, where it almost borders with the US. So don't worry, we're not crossing a pond, despite the ICAO code would lead us to believe it's not a long flight at all. In fact, flight time there, look at that, just 45 minutes. Of course, could be much less if things go south. And so with that, let's make a start. And so what I'm going to do is just, in fact, I'll shut the music off entirely and let's go. So coming up top here, battery. Sounds good. Close to cover, standby. And I'm not going to talk through too much of this today. Let's just get on with it. So the flight plan is here. Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango. So let's get not the maps, the airport page. And get some info from here. 10-9. Alright. We are there, so that's good. So we're in the right place. We do have the auto-ortho thing going, so there is that. And here we see elevation. This end of the field is 431. So I'm going to dial that in before I do anything else. So the nearest 10, interestingly, on this. So we'll go for 430. And we'll see if we can find the ATIS 1280. All right. So, do we have ground? Yes, we do. External power is available. Hit. Bus tie. Your side. Util bus. My side. Your side. There we go. Alright, IRS is then the status page and my side, your side, number 3. On the lights, and it would appear that I've never flown the Flight Factor The 76-3. I have an xPlane 11. I guess that was a year or more ago. So this is the first time flying it in XP12. Pretty much the same as the 75, which we flew. Again, minor discrepancies, but I would say if you've got one, you've got them both. Logo light on, cabin lighting before he starts digging. We've had that before. We'll put the chart light on a little bit. And some of these control the lights up here. Say this one, so the text, so that's the important one. This one is the backlighting there. You can barely see it. Position lights on as well. Okay. In it, pause, in it. Charlie, Yankee Tango is the airport, and the GPS is helpfully on the same page. We'll just drop that down. There we go. I believe I'm at gate 3, but again, I'm not sure if it... Yeah, it's not in the database, so I don't think the flight factors carry the gate data. Again, not that it matters anyway, because you're going to use the GPS, but regardless. I did. Yeah, you can tell I haven't flown it because a lot of these are like illegal frequencies and whatnot. Speaking of which, I wanted. I think it was 128. It was 128. Let's see if we can hear it. Transfer. 3025. Arriving runway 016. All right. So 2 things to note. 1, it's great that it loads quick. 2, that we can hear it well. 3, information, Romeo. Okay, we can turn it on and off, but I prefer to have a volume slider. Seems it's just on or off. Information, so we'll listen to it. Zulu. Wind 160 degrees at 10 knots. Visibility more than 10 miles. Sky conditions fuel at 2,200. Scattered at 22,000. Temperature 16. Dew point 9er. Altimeter 3025. Arriving runway 3025. 11. Departing runway 021611. There we go. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Romeo. 3025 there. Let's shut that up. We don't need it again. We got the pressure and we got the winds. And is it synced? No. So we're going to have to do it. Again, it's an option, but you know what? Let's just do it this time. There we go. 3025. Okay, so the route then. Let's get real quick. I'll tell you what, while we're doing the route, let's load the aircraft up. So yeah, we do need this one for the information. Charts, page 1 will give us our fuel. Block 20.5. We are operating in pounds, so imperial again. Ground fuel weight. So let's again round it up and then add one. So 20,600. Okay for the fuel. And come over to page 3 is going to get us passengers and whatnot. 262. Can we even carry that many? No, we're capped at 235. So again, something else I need to sort out at some point. And then the cargo, 0 fuel weight, 255.9. Zero fuel weight here is 257. So actually slightly above. So again, I've got my work cut out for us at some point to get this to match exactly. Let's try 231. Again, I'm just going off 0 fuel weight now, seeing as there is a discrepancy. 255. Where there we've got 256.9. So if I take £1,000 off the cargo, now it's 255.9, 255.9. There we go. Okay, so let's load. And on they come. Right, origin. Now, do you know, that really does my head in hearing that all the time. CYYT, and it plays it over and over and over again until we load the passengers. So, you know, flight factor, get rid of the loudness. You'll hear it again, and then once I've drawn your attention to it, you'll never stop hearing it, and you'll go to bed later hearing it. Louder, there it was again, probably a bit too late. Right, Lima Fox Victor Papa. Lima Fox Victor Papa. Bang. Flights Flying as the flight factors today, so flight factor, livery and course sign 3762. Expecting to depart louder runway 16. Boom. Right, company route. Do you know what? Let's just try because I haven't done it for a while. So again, if it works, you put in the departure, the arrival, and 01. So Charlie, Yankee Yankee Tango, then the arrival, which is Lima Fox Victor Papa, then a 01, and you bang that into company route, and it's not found it on this case, which is, yeah, it's a short flight anyway. At some point I'll have to see how exactly that works. So page 2 on this particular aircraft. Page 2, yes, so real simple. Runway 16 direct to Yankee Yankee Tango, which must be based on our airport, our own VOR beacon. And then from there it's onto the Yankee Yankee Tango 2 Alpha arrival for our destination. So it gives you some idea of how short the flight is. So that's it. Activate, bang, depart, arrival. So the departure's runway 16. There is a solitary SID here. Doesn't look like we're following it because we're straight there. Let's just come over to the route page. Depart arrivals. Do you know, let's just exec it. We've got to. Come over to the index page. Onto the arrivals. I'm just going to sew this one up. So it is the Yankee Yankee 2 Alpha, and that feeds us into runway 08. No ALS, interesting, so it's going to be the RNAV, and then the transition. Let's have a look. Lima Fox Victor Papa, because we're not going to have time to do this afterwards. Lima Fox Victor Papa. Arrival is this one. So we're coming in from here, which is where we're actually setting off from our departure. We're coming across the island here well, it's Canada, and then we're coming across, there's a tiny little island here, and it clearly belongs to the French, Saint-Pierre. Got a French name and everything, so it must be true. The French ICAO code and all. So it appears that it drops us off at the NDB, Saint-Pierre. So from Saint-Pierre, how do I know which transition for runway 08? The answer is I don't until I look. So RNAV runway 8. So we are kind of coming from this way anyway. So the option is 401 this side, you've got 402 that side, or we can go straight in at runway 08 there. India Victor Papa 08. Well, I reckon 402, just because it's a little closer to the terrain, so let's go with 402. Bang. Right, so no, nothing else, just straight across. So there's that. Right, so that's done. We can hear she stopped saying louder, so that means they're done. So I'll leave this on here because we're going to need it. I did want to see if there was, with regards to our current airfield, the St. John's departure. And yeah, look at that. It's just the departure is there isn't a departure. Always find these departures weird. Fancy prescribing the St. John's 7 departure, and then you look at it, and turns out there's actually nothing to it whatsoever. Initial climb runway heading for vectors, maintain 5,000 as assigned. I mean, you know. Anyway, whatever. So departure 16, and there is the 7 departure prescribed. So that's it, done. Here's Yankee Yankee Tango that we were looking for, Torbay, which is 1350. There we go. That's that. Our departure was 16. If it all does go wrong and we need to come straight back in, we do have an ILS on 16, which is great. Course 158. That goes in here. A very 767 ISM 158, and the frequency is 1070. There we go. Right. What was we doing here? It was 3, 7, 6, 3. Can you guess where I get the flight number from? Right, let's get started then with regards to everything else, because I think our systems are aligned just about. Yes, they are. So if we come over to the position page, 1, 2, 3. Yep, they're all on, and we've already got a tiny bit of drift on the right side. So APU into the on. Alt light comes on. Watch the fuel tank go. 3, 2, 1. And there it goes. Great. So that's running up. Aircraft is loaded. There we go. 20,600. So that's what we needed. Let's go ahead, put the signs on as well. Should have had the smoking ones on while we reload, but never mind. I think we'll get away with it today. So while we wait for the APU, if we come up the status, we'll see it here. There we go. EGT still climbing. IRPM's climbing. Let's have a listen to the sounds. It's not really a review per se of the aircraft, but I know there's some airport sounds as well, and again, these are also from the flight factor. Well, it sounds a heck of a lot better than the aircraft that I flew the other day. Shall remain unnamed for the purposes of this stream. Okay. APU is on, and so again, this is an aircraft where you can knacker things by doing them too quick. So we will just hang off like a few moments before putting it on bus, just a few, and we will take that time to start closing up the aircraft so we're not wasting any time. So aeroplane, close all. We'll come to the ground menu. Careful we don't disconnect the power. We'll get rid of the loader. We'll get rid of the waste unit. And there's ground power unit, so we'll keep that on. We'll get rid of the fuel, the gate config, the luggage loader, and I may even get rid of the chocks as well. There we go. So GPU remains. That is all. Speaking of which, let's take a look at takeoff speed. So we'll come over to the index page. In it now, gross weight. Zero fuel is in there. Reserves based off our plan are page 1. Alternate plus final reserve 9.8. So we'll put that in. Again, I'm not going to round that up to try and avoid too many low fuel caution. Cruise is 22,000, so pretty high for the short flight. Flight level 220 is, and cost index 106. It's very rare that I've had any cost index approaching it, and that is, let's have a look at the wind. Average wind is only 13 knots, so despite, you know, I get it higher cost index for a headwind, but really it's not that bad. I'm not going to go with 106. I'm going to dial it back to, let's just go with 45. That'll still shift. Cruise winds then 235 at 13, and with that the APU has long been up and running for long enough. So let's get rid of that. Let's come up here. APU generator on. Pause. 3, 2, 1. External power off. Let's get all the fuel pumps on. Set that to auto. Engine switches to auto. And where are we with the bleed over here? APU bleed. Valve is open. Caution light is off. Isolation valve is open. Caution light off. We'll close that. And then the pack left. Pressure coming up. Right. Pressure coming up. Packs 1. Packs 2. It's all good. We'll set the temps just below sort of 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. Temperature just 18.8 anyway, so kind of comfortable anyways. Alright, your damper 1, 2. Set the demands all to automatic. Great, and 1, 2, 3, 4. We're ready for pushback and start. Let's plan it then. And do you know what? If we push to there, it's going to give us a nice choice, so let's do it.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
We're ready.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
Okay, great. So let's speed through this. So we know the initial climb was 5 or above, so let's put 5 in there. Runway heading for our departure. If we come over here, was it 16? I believe it was. Put the legs on your side. Yeah, 164. And the magnetic heading here is 158 degrees, so that's what we're going to go with. Some weird reflections there. I like the reflections, but when the updates are like several times a second and the game runs at 40 in this case, it kind of looks odd. Right, so that's
okay.
in, that's
all
in.
Doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Speaking of which, let's get rid of the ground power. And the doors, yeah, are closed, so let's get rid of that. Right, so takeoff speeds then, let's get that in real quick. So flaps being a Boeing, hopefully 5, yes. Flaps 5 it's going to be. Thrust. But it's a relatively short runway, 7,000 feet, 16 degrees outside. Let's just go for 45 degrees. In fact, can't we? No. Do we have the option here?
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Can you put like D1 in? No, I guess it's just the temperature flexing, much like the Airbus. So 45 degrees, CG in up. Well, we'll have to grab the CG from our aircraft load then. Plane. Where are we here? Ground. 42. That's a little too far backwards. I never even noticed that until just now. Do you know what? We're going to fly with it in the red and see, hopefully, if we get away. It says in-op. I wonder if that's because it's basically in the red and it's saying, hey, you can't have this because it's in the red. So let's try 40. We still can't have it. I don't know how far back we can legally go. 35. You watch, the whole thing just don't work. 30. In-op. Okay. 25. Yeah, the whole thing don't work. So let's leave it. I'm sure the CG thing worked, but never mind. Right, ref speeds off. Decision 26. Rotating 33. V2 is 43. 43, that's in there. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this just for now. Let's come up top, put the beacon on. And let's let him push us back.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Right, we are allowed to start the engine. Okay, seeing as it is our first start, we'll go with the left-hand side. And packs off. Starter switch is on. Right, so the speeds, it's finicky in this. 26, 33, 43. So V1, as I twizzle it, I'm basically confirming it up here. So 26 set. 33. Engine page here. fuel on there. And 43. And we will have to count so that we don't get fed. Do you know that's going to be a video one time? What happens if we take off without waiting for the engines? And 43. There we go. And reference speed, we'll just shoot for... You watch, there'll be some restriction. And if I don't do it, then... I think it was... No. Oh, it was that one. There we go. There isn't really one. It's just 5,000. So our speed ref will be... Let's just go for 220. If all's good. Bang. Let's go ahead, start number 1. And so with this confirmed, we'll confirm it with the FMC as well, and then ref, bang. There we go.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
I do wish the external lights were a little bit brighter. I mean, we can see them just about like, but, you know, leaves a little to be desired, let's face it. When it's the most expensive aircraft that you can buy for any flight sim at the minute, you know, disregarding Queen of the Skies for Prepared 3D, which they no longer support, so it is now the most expensive. Right. I always like to turn that on just so we can see it. So let's set the parking brakes. Engines
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
are up and running, so we'll leave these on auto. We'll turn the engine bleeds on. APU bleed off. We'll restore the packs 1 and 2. Engine generators, your side first. We'll pause 2, 3, 4. My side second. Pause 2, 3, 4. Give him the signals 2, 3, 4. APU generator will turn off 2, 3, 4. And with that, let's get rid of the APU entirely. Bang. And then it can run itself out. We'll do a quick flight controls check. And because we're not going to... in fact, yeah, we best wait for the tug driver to get out the way. So we'll turn that up. And I think in spite of everything else...
disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the right. We'll see you next time and have a great flight.
Great. We'll add a minute onto there and then we'll surely be good. So flight controls check. So forwards, neutral, pulling aft, neutral, rolling to the left, neutral, rolling to the right, neutral, putting in the left boot, neutral, putting in the right boot, neutral, and left, right. Yeah, so there's a slight, you know, when I put the pedals in or the flight controls, it's not, the response is quick, but it's not like, do you remember the other day when we did the nose wheel and it was like, it was cartoonish silly. Here you can see, look, as I roll back and forth with the stick, there's a slight delay, which is what you'd expect. If we come to the wing view, so I'm just going to rapidly wobble it back and forth. You can see there, despite how fast I'm moving the stick, there is a, you know, like you'd expect, right? There's actuators that have to move. There's hydraulics and so on. It's not just magic. Right, anyway, so there we go. So parking brake, APU, gen is off. There goes the APU. So let's get rid of the status page. In fact, you know what? I'm going to keep it just so we can see what the flight controls are doing. Auto brake there, RTO. Excuse me 1 second. I just have something that I want to do to make the game ever so slightly louder. So it's just gonna take a sec. There we go. It's done. Thanks. All right. So with that, the flight controls checks are good. The ground services have disappeared, so we'll put the turn-offs as well as the taxi light on. We'll release the parking brakes. The signs are all on. An idle thrust there, you see, does indeed move the aircraft, and a lot of that is dependent on weight. Yeah, so now I'm moving the tiller side to side. This is much better. Look at this, the tiller here. Look, as I literally jam it side to side, you can see it takes time to move, you know, as you'd expect, you know, in real life. It's not just an instantaneous connection. And we also have an animation. By the way, the animation responds instantly, so that's what I was doing with my tiller. And if we come outside, there we see the response. It, you know, it turns, and you can still turn it too quickly, you know, for the aircraft, but it's not a cartoonish response like the other one was. All right, let's go. So departure heading is going to be 158 degrees. Let's set this from plan to, where are we here? Here we go. From plan to nav. So this is the runway right here. Oh, we need to backtrack. Of course, we need to backtrack. Well, we do have permission, thankfully, for a high-speed backtrack. So let's put the strobes and the wing lights on. And we'll come down here. We'll put Tara on as well. I'm just going to turn RTU off for now to normal because I don't want, you know, the aircraft thinking I'm trying to take off and then abort. And we've got 4 and a bit minutes there on the timer now. We said we was going to add a minute, so that really does make the 5. It's this one here, this intersection. So we'll not go too fast. We will, however, put the landing lights on. In fact, the sounds do seem kind of quiet. I know they have their own... Yeah, here's white. That's better. I'll turn the slider down a bit. I had the slider on full. I was wondering why it was a little quiet. Sounds on this aircraft are... They're still not brilliant, but the load's better than the other one. Loads better. And the thump is that thump though only really, well, there's 2 things that cause the thump, right? One is when nose wheels going over these little reflector lights that they aren't just magical little balls, they are little reflectors, and if we take a look, they do now have them, so these little reflectors. And then the second thing is obviously that, you know, the different panels of concrete, you know, there's like, you know, as you go in, it's not just one contiguous line like asphalt is on the road. It's these concrete panels often on the taxiways, and going over there is like ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And pilots usually try and avoid those little you know, the little taxi lights with the nose wheel, just because it's, you know, it would make even more noise. Right, here we go then. So we're through the 180 with regards to the departure end, so I'm going to put flight directors on. And we'll assume we've been cleared right for takeoff, so we'll put the nose light on. We know we've waited the 5 minutes. In fact, it's been 7 and some, so let's reset the clock. Let's start it. Let's wind them up. Let's get the auto throttle on. Auto brake RTO. And I just realised I didn't set flaps. So we should have a caution now. Let's see. I guess we set the flaps quickly enough, but they're not yet in position. Would that not give you a takeoff caution? Yes, the handle's in the correct position, but no, the flaps are not yet set. Did anyone see that real life video? It was a few years ago now, where the plane took off. It was an Airbus, and as it was taking off down the runway, the flaps then started to extend. So clearly the aircrew had completely forgotten to set the flaps, kind of like I just did. And they didn't realize until they were hurtling down the runway. Obviously, they would have gotten the alarm, and clearly then did they start extending the flaps. I don't know if you've seen that video. It was filmed by a passenger. Literally, the engine rev up, roars down the runway, and as it's roaring down the runway, eventually the flaps start coming out. And so two things wrong, right? They obviously didn't do the checklists, obviously. And then on top of that, flight direct LNAV, VNAV, let's be lazy. On top of that, when they got on the runway and they put full power on, they would have had that master caution, basically, you know, the takeoff config warning, which obviously they didn't press. They didn't press the takeoff config warning before, because it's an Airbus. That would have highlighted it. So they didn't set the flaps, they didn't run the checklist, they didn't press the takeoff config check. They hurtled down the runway, and only then did they get the alarm to say that the flaps were set, and then instead of aborting, which is obviously what they should have done in real worlds, they just dumped the flaps at that time. Now, if that ain't the most ill-prepared flight, I don't know what is. Right, let's get rid of the flaps. I'm getting to get rid of them all the way. This one does cancel the RTO by itself, interesting. Yeah. I'm not sure if whoever filmed that knew quite how many things were wrong with that particular departure. But they obviously knew enough to know that the flaps were being extended on the runway, which is a little unusual. You know, like hurtling down the runway, it's a little unusual at that point. Right, let's put the weather radar on as well. So weather on. And we've got the weather button here. Oh, I think it's this one. There we go. Weather on. And we do have something. It could, of course, just be ground clutter. And there is the 5,000 feet. Now, as you remember, the things going wrong started to happen according to this. So let's set it up. Failures and sceneries. Yes, I'm going to add a chapter in here for those that were just wanting to skip straight to it. So 3, 2, 1. All right, coming up to the failures. So we're cruising now at 5,000 feet at 250. We've just taken off. Here's our after 6,500 feet. Begin 5 random failures from happening. If you recall, those were starting immediately and then every 2 minutes apart. So let's enable that. And then if the aircraft, again, if they're 5 quote-unquote boring, insignificant failures, we'll then give this one a go. So there we go. That's now active. And so once we climb above 6,500 feet, things should start going wrong. I'm also now going to go direct to Yankee Yankee Tango. And now that will make us on the way. And let's climb up. Straight to 12. And we'll assume we've been cleared right on there. So I'm going to go flight level change for this. Coming upstairs then, we'll get rid of the turn off lights as well as the nose gear light. Logo light can go. And as soon as the climb's underway, there it is. Let's go ahead and release the passenger crew. Yeah, the cabin crew, should I say. The passenger crew? Who's that? There she is, the flight factor 767-300. Of course, Boeing aircraft. And yeah, so the trim obviously was a little aft. Ways aft to be legal, actually. You can see here the trim stabilizer to make up for that is quite the ways forward. You can see it's, you know, it's trimming unusually down, the whole stabilizer fin there. And let me just see. There is a way that I can rotate around the aircraft. I will find it. There we go. And I can point exactly to what I mean. So this whole thing is the stabilizer fin. And here you can see it's quite, you know, usually this whole thing would be, I wouldn't say quite in line with this bottom line, but much further in line. And so the fact that it's tipped much further back with regards to the plane is because it's having to pick the back of the plane up, because we've got heavier weight in the back of the plane, or towards the back half of the plane. Anyway, here we go. And so it looks like we've got our first failure, by the way. And it is left auxiliary pitot. So I said it might be something boring. It's the auxiliary pitot heat. It would appear on the left-hand side. There is, minor little bit of stutter there. It could just be the auto scenery loading in. And yeah, it has now resolved itself. So here we are, 12. Let's keep going. I should have really kept that going. Let's go flight level change once more. It's up to 22,000 feet, so we'll put that in. And we'll put now VNAV in. And there she goes. Top of climb, estimates just 16 miles away. And so again, there's going to be more failures coming every 2 minutes. So the left auxiliary pitot heat is, you know, it's clearly not the world's most important thing. I mean, if we start losing other pitot heats, it, you know, gradually becomes more important, right? But let's clear out that caution then. We are aware. Nothing we can do about it. Right, we're well above 10, so let's get rid of the landing lights as well. Get rid of the wing lights. Just flown there right over the VOR beacon. Don't know if you saw there, that radio beacon swing right round. I love as it sort of fishtails a little bit in that little bit of a cone of confusion. Still figuring out exactly where the beacon is. And yeah, the further we get away, the more stable that'll come. And so with it being a relatively short flight and failures are going to start pouring in, let's go and set ourselves up for the approach. So if we set plan mode in, and yeah, those of you joining us late, I did set up a bunch of these things before. So in theory, it should just be a case of rigging some of it up. So we're off to Darming, then Imosa, then Sierra Papa. That was St. Pierre, the NDB beacon, if memory serves. So if we just zoom in a notch, there we go. So St. Pierre right there. And then from there to Victor Papa 402, which is this point here. So if we connect that up like that, we'll actually be flying across the airfield, coming over here, then doubling around and coming into land. There we go, passing the flight levels 18,000 feet. So let's switch this now to standard. My side, and I need to do the same on your side. Standard. There we go. Right, we've got a new caution now. Forward cabin temperature. And this is interesting. Not had one of these before. And it looks like they're a bit of an in-op. There it's saying for the aft cabin is in-op. But the caution here is saying for the forward cabin temp is in-op. And so I think that's a slight mistake there from Flight Factor. They've just crossed the wires between the forward and the aft somewhat. Hopefully we'll be okay. Right, we've got another caution now, which is the right bleed valve. And that has been enough to activate a caution. The right bleed valve. So if we take a look here, is that from the engine? Yeah, it is. So here we go. Bleed valve on the right engine is conked. So based on that, I'm not entirely sure now what the procedure would be, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's to close the isolation valve and basically shut off the right pack. So let's try that. So I'm going to shut off the right. I don't know, man. Maybe leave it automatic. Let's turn off the right engine bleed. There we go. So we're just bleeding off the left, but the isolation valves are open. We saw the duct pressure drop a ton, but yeah, that I'm assuming, right, if the right bleed valve's gone, something to that effect. Left side window has gone. Forward cabin temp we know, right bleed, left side window heat. And so we're starting to lose some, so let's turn that off before it catches light. So that would be this window here is now the heat on it is in up. And so let's clear those out. I think we've dealt with those and so far we're okay. So the failures are beginning to stack up. Now in and of themselves, each one of those weren't major, but I think because of how many came in such a short space of time, you're going to be thinking, all right, those things could have gone wrong, but it also could be either something going wrong with the computer, or worse yet, if you could argue that, something with all the wires, all the electronics. There could be a fire within that bay that's not yet been detected, and it's manifested as a bunch of other failures as we're starting to get short circuits or other circuits that have broken. And so I'm guessing, even though each one of those wouldn't necessarily be a return back to base ASAP in combination, I'm going to assure you everybody's going to be heading towards the ground or the nearest divert ASAP. Yes, heading towards the ground's part and parcel. So let's get rid of the plan, put the flight back on. Push the range out a tad. There we go. And top of descent just 30 or so miles away. So I think we've dealt with the cautions. There may be one more in the post. So we'll just wait until this gets to like another minute and a half or so. If there's no other caution, just because there's nothing that's really going to keep our hands full at this stage, we'll activate the 4 more. And once we activate that, there'll be a minute of grace period, and then boom, we're going to be hit with 4 failures all at once. So I reckon this guy's partially, the biggins that you're hearing, again for those that don't know, is the cabin crew. And part of that is going to be because I didn't run through the safety briefing. Partly it's going to be that my smoking signs are off, and partly it could be due to the in-op in the, well, in this case it's the back of the plane, even though here we were told it was the front of the cabin. You can see there the impact that's having on the temperature. So I'm going to just manually increase this and see if that makes any difference whatsoever. Yeah, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any more failures. So I'm just going to have a sip of water and then we'll set them off. And again, they are fully randomized, which means, you know, some major, some minor. Which is why I've got so many there. Right, so we'll clear that page out. Just so that we've got, you know, as Boeing has it, the page there for the failures. And let's load up the failures board here. Scenarios, and this one here. In 60 seconds, give me 4 random failures. And again, if you want to see more of that, make sure you see the whole video because that was in there. So let's enable that. That's now activated. And so we see there 14 and a little bit minutes that was triggered off. So at 15 and a bit we should start seeing a bunch of messages. Now FMC, what has we got here? Reset MCP. And that's because we're getting close to top of descent. I didn't realize it quite did it at 20 miles away. Perhaps we're going quite fast if we drop the speed back. I always thought it was 10 miles to 15. See, we're still at 16 now. So let's take a look at our end destination. So let's focus there. So Charlie Yankee Tango's where we came from, and we'll clear that off. And clear that off. Clear that. And here's our destination. St. Pierre 386 on the NDB. So let's dial that in. .386, there we go, it's on your side. Right, there's the 15 and some, and here's the additional failures that we've got. MSA for the area, because we need to start descending based on these, and I'm just going to hide our aircraft icon there, because again, I find it cheating. And so the MSA is 2,000, so we're just going to come straight down to 2,000 based on the multitude of failures. And it's still a little while away, so let's come over to the descent page and descend now. Got a drag required message. We're going to ignore that, so let's work through this air to ground system. Not sure what that is. Engine bottle 2, so that's going to be if we've got a fire. I can only assume that fire extinguisher number 2 or agent number 2 has had it. Still don't know what that air ground thing could possibly be. Standby instrument pitot. Yeah, we know that was something not right there. Air ground, I mean, the only thing I can really think is... Oh, I was going to say the inverter that syncs up the generation with the ground systems and the aircraft, but I'm not so sure. And so you know what? Plane's still flying quite comfortably. I'm going to run it again. So we'll get rid of that. Top of descent is slowly catching up with where we are. So we'll come over to the failures, scenarios, enable. I guess that runs it again. We'll soon find out. It's currently, let's call it 17 minutes. So at 17:55, we should get a bunch more. And we'll just keep going until basically, you'll know when I've got my hands full because I'll stop talking because I've got to start concentrating. Turn the panel lighting on. Push the range out a tad. So hopefully if those fault scenarios are going to work, it should start kicking in about 15-20 minutes time or so. If failing that, we'll just create a new program real quick and get it to fail us right away. Anyway, let's have a look then. Should be right about now. There we go. Forward equipment valve, left engine hydraulics overheat, right engine hydraulic overheat. Now this is interesting because this may potentially lead to some sort of a fire. Overheat warning here. And again, with me not having the QRH, I have no idea here what you do with this. I mean, I certainly don't want to turn these off. They're on automatic, but I don't know what to do now. Keeping an eye on the engine parameters. Otherwise, can't see anything that's in the red or looking too alarming. And they are at idle thrust anyway as we descend. Well, you know what? Let's run a few more. And again, some of the faults are clearly so minor they're not even showing up on the screen here. And so let's come over to the failures. You know, because obviously not every failure is possibly going to be shown. So enable again. That's going to give us 4 more. Again, I'm just going to keep on doing this while we make our ways into the destination here at St. Pierre. 386, we did dial that in your side. Your side is set for the ADF, yes. My side for the VOR, yes. Doesn't seem to be pointing yet. We are now below 18. Also got 402 over there. Let's dial that one in my side. Is that one being detected yet? Apparently not. What if there's some sort of a thing with the ADFs in xPlane? We'll have to see. We'll have to make sure we pick that guy up, because I flew the other day. It was flights in 2020. None of the ADFs were working. None of the NDB beacons. Left engine hydraulic pump's gone. And that appears to be the only caution on this particular one. Left engine hydraulic pump. So that's one here. So we're starting to fill up with the cautions. And hydraulic pressure. Well, we still got it. Looks like, I don't know if that's a minor leak there on the right. Hydraulic quantity is a little less than it was, but you know what they say. Look at all those failures there in the progress. Right, let's run it again. Bang. So far. And it just gives you an appreciation of how safe these aircraft are when you can have a list as long as your arm of things that's wrong with it and it's still flying perfectly fine. You know, in the back, you wouldn't even know that anything was wrong. And, you know, with regards to flying, it's still pretty good. People right at the back maybe a degree cooler than everybody else, so, you know, we'll just turn that up a tad and we'll see if that helps. I mean, the other option is to turn the middle of the cabin up a bit if it gets a little too chilly. Just so that the temperature bleeds across. Right, so yeah, we were wanting to get hold of the weather here. So St. Pierre, have you got anybody that's going to let us know? By the way, airport elevation 28 feet, so we'll dial this down to 30. And approach tower. Yeah, nothing with regards to the weather, so I am once again going to cheat, switch over like this. We've got live weather, and yeah, QNH 1022, so we'll have to switch that. Set 1024, 1022, there we go. And we have now passed. Is that on yet? No, it's still standard, so we'll press that. There we go, 1022. Right, same on your side. HPA 1022, and there we go, switched over. And the standby one as well. There we go. Right, boom. Let's get rid of that. Right, a few more failures have just stacked in. Left engine hydraulic pump, left recirculation fan, the auto brake, and the right hydraulic quantity. And if we take a look here, yeah, the right hydraulic quantity is down. And I guess RF means refill, but of course could be wrong. But yeah, other than that, we're still good. So the left recirculation fan, which is this, we'll turn that off. Isolation valve there, that's at it, so we'll shut that off. Auto brakes have had it, so that means manual braking. We've got the caution light on there. And yeah, hydraulic quantity doesn't continue to get worse. I am going to turn that off, seeing as there's a fault with it. There we go. Continuing to descend here nicely. We're about to drop through. And just to make this a little easier, I'm going to go for flight level change. We're now making our way direct towards the airfield, just 40 miles away. And yeah, also the external sounds. Right, let's move off to the side. Yeah, not the best, are they? Not by a long way. Let's pull the range back on the ND. And with, yeah, we acknowledge all of these, accept. At some point it's going to crash the sim because there's that much wrong with it that it just can't handle the new setup. But until it does, let's run it again. Scenarios, 4 randoms, go for it. Yeah, so if we take a look at the failures reports, look at them all. Page full. I'm not sure if there's more than that. Left 2, it says N3 major vibrations. Where is that? You know, I guess it's something that there isn't actually a display for. I mean, they do have a vibration indicator. We've got oil pressure, oil temp, oil quantity, But, oh, maybe we don't have a vibration. Yeah, there's just the standard vibration down there, 1.0. So it doesn't specifically focus upon N3. And so again, that's something you wouldn't know. Perhaps you'd feel it a little bit. I don't know. Alright, we're dropping through, so we will start slowing down a little bit. And yeah, here's more failures now. Middle cabin temperature and the outside air temperature probe has had it. Again, still nothing show-stopping. Failures. Scenarios enable. I guess at some point, yeah, look at this, it's going to keep going. I wonder what happens now. Is there a page 2? Or if it can't have any more. But for now, let's just clear out the MCs. We'll take a look at the temperatures here. Alright, so we've got INOP now in the center. So we'll drop that. Actually, that's dropping down anyway. So we'll increase this a little bit. I guess the pack's already working overtime, the one pack that remains, but let's leave it automatic. Let's go ahead, landing lights, turn off lights as well. Taxi lights, wing lights, we'll assume we've been cleared into land, logo light, and we'll go ahead and seat the cabin. More failures now with forward equipment smoke. Now we're talking. We've got smoke, left engine hydraulics overheat, no nose AG system. I hope that doesn't mean we can't extend the nose gear. Smoke detected. Where is our mask? Where's the oxygen mask? I don't actually see it. Oh, is this it here? Yeah. There we go. Oh, that is a cool oxygen mask. You can actually hear it as well. That is so cool. I'm not faking that at all. That is the Flight Factors. Masks there. It's got some weird sort of eye reflections that can just about make them out. Yes, alright, so we got the smoke and this, and you know, whether they're talking about or not be that people are smoking or anything else, doesn't matter. Looks like we've lost our altitude meter here as well. Our primary height instrumentation has gone, so we're relying on the secondary now. What about your side? Your side's gone as well. Very interesting. So no fire, but because we are in the clouds and we've lost height information, we're going to have to start and think. So let's clear this. I'm just going to run it one more time, and then no matter what happens, that is it, because I'm starting now to have to focus with the loss of that height thing is the first real one, as well as the smoke. So let's enable 4 more, and then that's it. Again, we've got a minute to go on this. Right. Right, NDB Beacon has now picked it up. We've got a nice blue arrow pointing us straight towards the airfield, which is good. And we'll drop the range back once more. No, you're getting close when that's happening. Let's take a look at the approach speeds then. We'll go for a flaps 25. What do you mean invalid entry? There we go. 25, 136. Your sides, the legs, which it is. How's the height doing? 4,000. I wonder if we've got access to vertical speed. Okay. That changes things some. What have we got here? Autopilot disconnect. Yes, yes, yes. There we go. Let's press the disconnect button to stop it. More cautions. Turn that off. Bus tie here's gone, that's why that went. Yeah, so this is it, hands full, so I'm going to have to switch to your side of the aircraft. I hope you don't mind. Where's the zoom? Ah, there we go, we're already zoomed in. I'm going to keep on doing that. Unfortunately, my reset view button is... Of course, my height isn't working, so I'm having to refer over there to height. So yeah, we've really got hands full. We want to be visual ASAP. Just check we put all the lights on and signs, which we did. Aircraft is actually feeling a little more sluggish, and that I'm sure is related to our hydraulic failures that we're experiencing. So we've dropped out the bottom of the clouds, and I'm going to have to stay here for visual purposes, seeing as we are starting to suffer electrical and navigational failures. Why are we shifted? Are we really doing 300 knots? I don't think it feels like we're doing 300 knots. I think the speed's US as well. Although the standby one does. It says we're accelerating. Look at this. I think we've got... That's the pitot tubes. They're all talking twaddle. So no way are we doing 337. Look at the speed. It's just adding and adding. And I'm at idle thrust here.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
Yeah, we're actually going really slow. I think that's why I'm having such a ridiculous angle of attack here. So I'm going to put flaps 1. And I'm going to ignore that because I know that the speed there is a lie. I couldn't tell you exactly what my speed is, but we're certainly not doing 300 knots. And so I'm going to ignore these cautions here. Again, if I'm hanging off the AOA, it's nowhere near. I'm really having to steer now. Look at how slow the response is when I'm steering. I'm going to turn your flight director off because it is now my side. And I do want to know minimum wise if we come in. So here we go. Radio What have we got there? 610. I'm happy with that because of the... You know, if we get down to 600 feet and I don't realise it because I'm pointing into the sky, that's fine. Let's start this left turn. And thank goodness we've still got that nav on my side, because without that... Without that screen, that panel, I guess unless we've got a standby NDB beacon somewhere to follow the needle, I really wouldn't know what to do. Well, right now it's a case of memorizing where's it pointing. It's going to be roughly north, maybe 340, and I'd turn to that heading. I am having to throw the aircraft quite far over just to get this turn going, man. It just wants to level out unless I'm holding it quite far. Okay, we don't want to climb anymore, but we certainly sorted our speed situation out some. That's max roll there. That is maximum roll rate. Elevator authority seems a lot better. Oh yeah, we wanted to check if the gear works. Well, we need to find that out sooner rather than later. So let's pull up a little. Dump the gear. I was going to say I'm not really hearing it go down, but I am now. Do have a solitary caution light. We need the 3 greens. As long as we got 3 greens, I'm happy. As of yet, we ain't got them. Right, what's this here? Flat override, gear override, alternate gear extend. Right, we've got no greens. We're going to have to go for it. Alternate gear extend. Down it goes. Hopefully. I mean, it sounds like they're down. I can hear the drag, but, you know, in the absence of 3 greens. And do you know what? In real life, I couldn't just switch to an external cam and check, so we're not going to do it. And we'll see how that pans. Right, we know we've got no auto brakes, and I'm using the what do you call it? The azimuthal trend vector. I don't know what you call that. So that down there. That. I'm using it to try and more or less line up here with the fields. We've
too
got
low, terrain.
Oh.
Too low terrain. Too low.
Jitwiz doing
too
its
low,
thing, of
terrain,
course,
too
separate
low,
from
terrain,
everything else.
Too low, terrain.
I think it uses the INS. Alright, there we go. Let's roll it off. There you can see how much roll I'm giving it just to try and roll the wings levels. So yeah, hydraulics is a big problem. Yeah, you see that speed's way off. We just give it a bit of throttle and apparently the gears... Yeah, it's no way.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
Coming over here just to glance on the height, about 1,000 feet and climbing. It wants an ATT reset. Right, let's give it now.
Too low, terrain. Too low,
I
terrain.
did press it.
Too low, terrain.
Right, we'll put
Too
another...
low,
I need
terrain.
to look
Too
out.
low, terrain.
Right, another
Too low,
notch of
terrain.
flaps. Because we're not climbing, and so we must have about a 7 or 8 degree AOA here. Right, Let's put another notch of flaps out, flaps 15, and a flap indicator. The flaps are coming pretty well actually, so the flaps don't seem to be that bothered. Right, one more notch of flaps. And runway is in sight. It's actually not on the main island. I've just seen it's on this little island to the right. You know what? Let's come over here now. Let's try be clever. So we're landing with an aircraft that's basically dead. Again, with no speed info, just a wonky speed indicator. We know the backup went as well. This is just a feel for it. No auto brake. I'm using my trim switch, which, yeah, trim is working, thankfully. Right, let's put another notch flaps on. We've got to be careful because with the CG so far aft, it would be very easy to stall this aircraft and maybe even get into a deep stall. But she's handling quite well at the minute. Right, let's arm the boards. There we go. Sit on a cushion so we can see. I do feel that we're dangling it in a little bit, coming in a little too slow, but and again with almost no ability to steer the aircraft, we need this long approach. No last minute side slipping it like I like to do sometimes. Right, one more notch of flaps. Coming in just a little bit too high. It does feel like it's ballooning a little bit. Wish I could sort of, I mean, there we go. I mean, she's, as you can see, she's there, but quite a bit of power to check the descent rate. Right, we're down. Idle reverse. Standing on the brakes. We know they're not working. Give it some now. We've actually got no reverse indicators, so let's scratch the idea of adding power. I'm just stood on the brakes. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we've made it. Saint-Pierre. There's the outside. So let's take a look. So the gear definitely came down despite the lack of indication. Just as well, I decided to check my power on the reversers because as you can see, they did not deploy. Neither of them did. So we were so close to the end. I was stood on the brakes, and so that would have been all the way. Nose wheel steering, interestingly enough, is still working. So despite all the failures, we did still have that. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that one, and until next time, actually, just before I say goodbye, I did this last time, then it like carried on for a minute. Let me just pause and I'll try and get you a replay. Alright, here we go then with the instant replay. I've put it back to a few seconds before touchdown. I'm picking this view for no other reason than you can see the flight controls quite clearly. And so the elevators, as well as the trim, thankfully, as best I could tell, were completely fine. They seem to be unaffected. But you see the roll rate here. Here's why, look at this. The ailerons are not working at all. We've just got the inbounds spoilerons there. And that is all. So I didn't actually need to add power, I don't think, to check the descent rate, but of course I didn't know quite how fast I was going. And that seemed to be a very rough touchdown from when we did it as well. So let's just rewind it a little bit. Let's play it. And let's just go slow motion. I want to see exactly why was it so bad. So I'll turn the sound down a bit. And so it looks like my descent right here, my speed was too high. Just looking at this, there's not enough angle there. You can see with the main landing gear, it needs to be at least another 5 degrees. And I basically plowed it into the ground. I'm sure I flared a little bit, but apparently not enough. And it slammed in. At least the nose gear was the third one down. Spoilers did come up. Those were armed and they did work. Not the whole wing. Take a look, just partially, but they did. And if we go back to full speed now, yeah, there you see it. The engines did not deploy reverse. Now you see me skidding. You know, look at all that smoke there off the tires. I'm literally stood on the brakes, and there was the decision to let go of the thrust. The reversers did not deploy. It was just making matters worse. All right, that really will be the end. Until next time, wherever in the world you may be, from me here, deep inside the UK, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care. Ta-ra.